بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني. Today we'll be discussing Juz 17, which covers Surah Anbiya and Surah Hajj. Before I begin, if you guys hear any popping sounds in the back, it's because it's New Year's Eve today and lots of firecrackers going on, so I do apologize. But anyways, Surah Anbiya is a Meccan surah. It's the 21st surah of the Qur'an. And as many of us know, Anbiya means prophets, and as you'll realize when we go on, one of the themes of this surah is to talk about the different prophets and their different stories and what exactly occurred with many of them. The surah opens with Allah addressing the people that mock the resurrection, and Allah saying that the day of judgment is getting closer and closer to them, yet they're just mocking it. They're living a life of play. They're not taking it seriously. And the surah begins with Allah letting us know some of the things that the Quraysh would call the Prophet ﷺ, or the people, the disbelievers would accuse him of. And some of those things were, they would call him a poet ﷺ. They would call him a liar, a magician, that the revelations are nothing but dreams. And they would tell him, that he's just making this stuff up. And Allah lets us know in the surah about the stuff that they called him. And then Allah poses this question, that these people that are mocking the Prophet, the last and final messenger, have they not seen what happened to the people of the past when they try to do the same thing? Have they not taken a lesson from the people of Noah, the people of Ad and Thamud, and all those other stories that are mentioned in the Quran, like how Allah destroyed those people and they had done the same thing? So Allah's telling these people, like, why aren't you, take heed of those lessons, like reflect on those, the same thing. They were just completely destroyed, wiped out as if they had never existed, and they were the ones that had mocked their messengers too. So Allah is telling these people right now, how many towns were destroyed because of what they did, of the As we go on, Allah mentions some of His signs, and Allah describes how the mountains stand firm, and how the sky is made as a canopy that's well guarded, and how Allah has created the night and the day, and the sun, the moon, and everything goes about on its own course. All the planets orbit around on their own course, and Allah mentions how every soul will taste death. No one is granted a permanent life, and every soul shall taste death. And Allah says, and we test all of you by evil and by good. Something that I want to focus on is that sometimes good times aren't seen as trials. Rather, bad times are seen as tests and struggles for us. But in reality, both good times and both bad times are a means of testing us. And sometimes the bad is easier to recognize, that you're going through a test, but sometimes the good isn't as easy to recognize. And so sometimes when everything is going smoothly, you're getting all A's, you just you just got a raise at work, your family life is going perfectly, you forget to sometimes call upon Allah because everything is going fine. Sometimes you feel like you don't need to call upon Allah, and even though these good times should make us more grateful, sometimes they actually make us forget Allah. And so Allah says that evil and good is made as a trial, as a test for people, not just bad times. So sometimes a good can be a bigger trial because it's harder to identify that we're being tested. Another ayah that I want to mention in the surah that I found very powerful is ayah 19, where Allah says, and those near to him are not prevented by arrogance from his worship, nor do they tire. They exalt him night and day, and they do not slacken in their worship. And subhanAllah, this really made me think that, Allah describing a characteristic of people that are close to him, and immediately our ears should perk up, like the Allah's about to say something that we should strive to do. And what is that? That these are a type of people that nothing prevents them from worshiping Allah. They're not arrogant, they humble themselves, and they never slacken in their worship. Day and night they're striving to get closer to Allah. Then nothing prevents them from worshiping Allah. And it makes me think, how back in the, like not back in the day, but during the Prophet ﷺ's times, those people faced a lot of tests and struggles. I mean, a lot of them were beaten and literally tortured for the sake of Islam and for them to hold on to their faith. Today, we don't face as extreme times. A lot of us, we are able to wear our hijab and we're able to practice our faith without having to face those situations. But still, regardless, hate crimes still happen. A lot of the Muslims are still being tortured. especially in countries overseas like Syria right now, just for sometimes just for the sake of being Muslim, those people are dying and being killed. And so Allah says that the people that are near to Him, nothing prevents them from worship. They do not tire in their worship. They do not slacken, and they're exalting Allah day and night. And these fleeting moments of hardships and struggle that they face, it doesn't hold them back at all. They're still constantly worshiping Allah, and this is a quality that that inshallah we can all aspire to have, and may Allah make us amongst those that are patient, steadfast, and always remain true and faithful to being Muslim, and may Allah help us live and die as Muslims, inshallah. Allah mentions the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, and the struggle that Prophet Ibrahim faced with idolatry and the people around him who worshipped idols, and there are many other prophets that are mentioned in the surah. Prophet Lut alayhi salam is mentioned, Prophet Noah, Prophet David, Solomon, Ayub alayhi salam, Ismail, Idris, Zulkifl, Prophet Yunus, Prophet Zechariah. And Allah says that they were all righteous, and they were amongst those that were patient, and they were amongst those that called upon Allah in hope and fear. These are characteristics of these people that Allah is describing. Allah also says, in this surah, there's also a beautiful, very well-known dua that was made by Prophet Yunus alayhi salam when he was, in the belly of the whale, where Prophet Yunus calls upon Allah and says, "There is no deity except for you. Exalted are you. Indeed, I have been amongst the wrongdoers." This is a very famous dua. We've probably seen it, written in little calligraphy letters on little hanging on walls and stuff. It's extremely powerful dua. And once Prophet Yunus called upon Allah with this dua, his prayer was accepted, and he was relieved from the distress that he was facing. And towards the end of the surah, Allah mentions that, indeed your religion is one religion, and I am your Lord, so worship me. That's, Islam summed up right there. There's no religion but Islam, that is the religion of truth, and there's no God but Allah, and our purpose is to worship Allah. The second surah in this juz is Surah Hajj. The opening of Surah Hajj is extremely powerful. There's a very vivid description of the Day of Judgment that's being portrayed in the beginning. Allah is describing how mothers will forget their own children. No one will remember another, because it's as if everybody will be intoxicated, running, out of fear, out of worry for their own selves. The part that's covered in this juz is the beginning, towards the middle, where Allah describes the development of man and the creation of man. These are pretty awesome ayahs, where literally in very clear detail Allah is describing how just as Allah created us from nothing, we literally were dust, and from that, and then how we were created from the zygote forming, then a little clot, then a little lump, and it grew in the womb. And Allah says, if I created you from nothing, why do you still doubt the resurrection? So Allah opens as describing the scene of the Day of Judgment. These people who still don't believe in the resurrection, Allah provides them the sign that our own creation is a miracle and a sign of itself, that there is a resurrection. As we go on, Allah mentions the different types of believers. There's the disbelievers. There's people whose faith wavers, their iman shifts back and forth. Then there is those who are firm and patient. May Allah make us amongst the last type of believer, who are always firm and patient, and constantly strive for Jannah. Hajj is also mentioned in the surah. Of course, it's called Surah Hajj, including its purpose. Sacrificing of animals is mentioned. Towards the end of the surah, Allah provides a humbling example of how, these people, they call upon these gods that can do nothing. Even if they all came together, they couldn't even create a small thing as a fly. And this just shows you how weak the human being is, and how powerful Allah is. Literally everything is a blessing, and everything created was done by the Creator, and we ourselves can't do anything. As the very in this surah reminds us to be Muslim, that the people of the past were told to be Muslim. And what is the definition of Muslim? It's one who submits to Allah and holds fast to the deen of Allah, and for them Allah is their protector and their helper. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.